Hello beautiful people, this is a little bit of a barbed wire topic. People don't want to talk about it, guys versus girls, and I'm not trying to compare like sexes and anything like that. For me, this is more of an opportunity to sort of just show what I've seen or what I've witnessed by living in Oceanside recently. It's just crazy the amount of progression sessions that I see, and it's just crazy in general what is happening right in front of us. Although there's not too many platforms except for contests to really showcase this talent essentially. So recently I was on two different sessions, two different times. One was a girl session, one was a guy session, both at Poods Bowl Skate Park in Encinitas, and it was really fun. So I'm going to be using this footage as an example as I talk about this topic. This isn't comparing both sessions or those men skaters versus the women skaters that you're going to see. This is more so just to add some context, so I'm just not here talking on the screen. You can actually see some rad skateboarding that I've been witnessing, and this is a very spontaneous session. These aren't planned sessions. This is just what's going down on a regular day here in my area. I also asked you guys what you thought about this topic in the community tab here on my channel, so I'll definitely be getting into your thoughts later in the video. So now that skateboarding is in the Olympics, it's an accepted sport, essentially, whether or not you want to call it a sport or whether or not you're for the Olympics, doesn't really matter. My point is that the Olympics gave a stage, it gave a platform to a lot of the ladies and a lot of the girl skateboarding that you never had a platform to before, with the exception of social media, which is definitely the next topic that I wanted to dive into. So I think most skateboarders use social media a little bit differently than the average person. A lot of times you use it for inspiration and to just connect with other people. That's what's really cool. And I think because of social media and because it's in this era of girl skateboarding, it's allowed them to have quick access and see everything that's happening in a lot quicker real time versus watching magazines or movies of that nature. So I think just the environment that we're in right now, with everything being so accessible, is allowing for the progression to happen at such more of a rapid rate. Now, the biggest platform for skateboarding in 2022 is Instagram, whether you like it or not. I think it's kind of surreal, but my point is that it's created this ability to connect these girl skateboarders together no matter where they live, whether they're in Japan, in California, in Indonesia. It really doesn't matter. It's been such a crazy way for them to connect and progress so quickly. Personally, I watch skate videos and read magazines as they come out, but the reality is that the newer generations gets that progression, gets that inspiration right at their fingertips. One thing that I noticed on both of these sessions was the difference in every skater's ego. I'll come out and say it. The girl session was a lot more fun and exciting. It felt like the creativity and the camaraderie and the general sense of care on the girl sessions was alive and very authentic. It wasn't anybody trying to one-up each other. It was everyone trying to sort of level each other up. And I think that was really unique. And I think like a lot of people are witnessing that. I've seen a lot of comments sort of saying that too. If you're on these sessions with these girls and you're on a session with a guy, one thing you will definitely notice is just like the camaraderie, and like it feels so much more fun. It feels less of like this sport and sort of jockey football way and more of this like creative, let's just like explore what is possible way. And I think that is something that's so special within skateboarding alone. It doesn't matter like what you are, just having that I think makes you a more special skateboarder in my opinion. You might be asking, Dowdy, what does sense of care matter? It matters because they're caring for each other's weight, something I haven't seen in men's skateboarding in a long time. Don't get me wrong, it exists and it's alive, but the ladies feel like they're pulling each other up along the way of learning new tricks while the men are flexing their new tricks to their peers versus trying to show them how to do it. And I think that's like my overall point with this little part of the video, is just that like the girls really want to amplify each other, where men, I think it's not so much they don't want to amplify each other, I think they do, but maybe subconsciously they're more of like, hey, look at me, check out what I'm doing, isn't this cool? Where the girls are like, look what you can also do too. I think that is the main difference that I've seen throughout these sessions. Now I do want to say, and I think it's pretty important to say, that a lot of the response that I've gotten from people or you guys from the channel is like, yeah, the girls are playing catch up, they have the guys as role models as an example, and it's kind of ironic that 100% of the time, almost every time, that is a guy saying that. A little bit weird, and I think that's just like a way to discredit it. It doesn't matter what was before or what is after. It's more just about like allowing what's happening right now to also have a platform, also to exist. You don't have to like decredit girl skateboarding because guys were skateboarding first. I mean, if girls were skateboarding first and then guys picked it up afterwards, it would be like, oh, the guys are just getting better because the girls already did it. No, you wouldn't. That doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, of course they had inspiration and they got to see how it was done. And when these guys, you know, Animal Chin and everything, they were like inventing these tricks, Rodney Mullen, and I think that's really cool. But the thing is, I've also seen that happening on these girl sessions. I've seen these girls like trying tricks that I never seen guys try, and they're like, you know, maybe you call it dancing on the coping or whatever you want to call it, but the reality is that I've seen, even at this small point of progression in the last 4 or 3 years of girl skateboarding, they're doing tricks that I've never seen guys do, or they're trying things that I've never seen guys do, which sort of, in my opinion, debunks that idea of like, oh, well, they had guys as role models. Do you think in the future girls could potentially set new standards for all skaters? Because I do. You might think I'm crazy, and obviously there's a lot of body makeup to be considered in these barbed wire topics, but I mean, skateboarding is pretty similar to dancing, gymnastics, and all those things, and guess who's innovating in those spaces? It's girls a lot of times. So I think as much as skateboarding is this thing that, like, yeah, guys started, a bunch of guys from white dudes from California, I think the reality is it's a changing, and maybe some skaters don't like that, but like, girls are more flexible. Girls have, I mean, in my opinion, look at, like I said, look at dancers, look at gymnastics. Like, it's not that guys aren't in there and they're doing their thing, but like, a lot of the times it's the girls that are really pushing it. And I think within the next 4 or 5 years, I honestly think girls will be pushing skateboarding just as hard as men, if not harder. I personally don't believe there should be a standard for judging skateboarding. In my opinion, skateboarding is very subjective to the beholder. So with that said, and with what I said about the Olympics earlier, it does raise a bigger question about competitive skateboarding. I personally think competitive skateboarding is going into a toxic direction. I'm not sure where it leads, but I do like that it creates more opportunity for the future skateboarders. I do appreciate that about it. However, just to play the devil's advocate, I do think a lot of girl skaters we've seen lately come up have been through contests. Maybe that's not always by choice, but similar to how skaters came up before social media, Tony Hawk, P-Rod, Nyjah, all came from a competitive side of skateboarding. But I think that's primarily due to the needing a platform, a vehicle to expose their abilities on a skateboard, because skateboarding is still largely gate-kept, and unless you fit the identity of the industry standard, it's not going to be easy for you. Things are changing because skaters can no longer deny the talent that we're seeing from these events. However, I do think we've seen a shift now that skateboard companies are giving the girls pro boards and giving them a space in the industry to thrive. And I think that's like really important, and since I have a small YouTube channel, I figured I wanted to make a video to also showcase these talents, because this is spontaneous sessions, both this girl and guy session video clips that you're seeing. These are spontaneous sessions, but I do believe these girls need more credit and not to be sort of debunked by, well, men did it and they have an example. I just think, like, as men, you, me, let's stop that shit. Let's give them the credit that they deserve. I posted a poll on the community tab of this channel, and I said, who are progressing faster, men, women, or other? And the results were that 54% said women, 33% said men, and then 13% said other. So now I want to jump into some of the comments that you guys left. Austin Klein said, skateboarders with discipline are progressing the fastest. I think this is a really good comment from Josh Goddard. He said, there is for sure progression on both sides, but right now guys have hit a really high bar and the ladies are at a place of exponential growth at a rapid rate. Thomas Neeson said, I can't speak to who's progressing faster, more, whatever, but women have been largely gatekept from skateboarding at a large until somewhat recently. If you really think about it, is like, imagine there was just as many men as there were women skateboarding. I think that would play a big role as well. So I'm curious on your thoughts on this topic. Definitely leave them down below. Mash.